Hello there, all of you absolutely lovely people. Once again, this is Dax, and on this video, we're going to be discussing how to interpret the dream symbol of a house. That's right, if you see a house in your dream, what does it mean? And yes, here I am sitting right next to my house. It is my house because I'm much smaller in person. But anyway, if you enjoy the content of this video, if you find it useful, reach down there, click that like and subscribe button. And also there's a bell icon up there if you ever want to be informed whenever I post a new video to this channel. And now, on to the subject of how to interpret your house as it appears in your dreams. Now, houses are one of those dream symbols that exist on more than one layer. If you are unfamiliar with what I mean when I discuss the 3 layers of dream symbol meaning, well, I'm posting a link up there at the top of the screen to the 3-layer video that I've already made on the subject. You can feel free to check that one out so that you'll understand what I'm talking about. On the dream symbol of the house generally tends to hold meaning on all 3 layers. On the archetypal layer, it is really less about a house and more about your home. Because you've got to keep in mind, prehistoric man, we didn't exactly build houses, but we had homes. We had some kind of shelter that we used as a living space. So on the archetypal layer, it was really more about the symbol of a home rather than the symbol of a house. But when you move on up to the cultural layer, houses built out of stone or wood, in some cases steel, houses that people like you and myself, we live in them today. But also on the personal layer, you do have to take your personal experience into account. Do you like this house? Do you dislike this house? Is it full of fond memories? Did something horrible happen to you in it? For another example, the house in your dream might represent wish fulfillment, but this video will mostly deal with that central cultural layer of meaning that dream symbols have. Now, when it comes to interpreting the symbol of the house in a dream, the number one thing you need to be aware of is that the house represents you. In the dream, you can look at the house to determine your own state of being. When you're looking at that house is you. Now, there are several things that you want to pay attention to when looking at the house in the dream. One of the things that you want to notice is it actually your house? Was the house in the dream your house in the waking world? Now, one trick that you can use if you're trying to lucid dream is learn to recognize whether that's your house or not in the dream itself. You see, if you are having a dream and you actually notice within the dream that something about your house is wrong, that it's not actually your house, well, that is one trick that lucid dreamers use to go lucid. You notice in the dream, oh, that's not really my house. And it causes you to go consciously aware in the dream and realize that you're dreaming. But that's only one thing that you want to look at. Once again, your house is you. This is me right here. Your house is you. And so you do want to notice whether or not that house in the dream is actually yours. But other things that you want to look at in the dream are, what is the state and condition of the house? What rooms are in the house? And what floor in the house are the rooms on? All of this has meaning. Now, let's start off with discussing the different floors on the house and what they mean. The first floor of the house represents the aspects of yourself that you display to the rest of the world. In your waking life, how do you dress? What is your body language and your interaction with other people around you like? This is all represented by the first floor of the house. The basement, the underground layers of the house, represent your subconscious. Under normal circumstances, we do not actually know what's going on in our subconscious mind. But in a dream, you can go to the lower layers of the house, the layers beneath the ground floor, and find out what's actually going on in your subconscious. You can communicate with your subconscious this way. I actually use my Stairway to the Soul meditation. I've already posted a video on that. But I use my Stairway to the Soul meditation to do this. I go into a meditative state and I go down to see what my subconscious is doing. But that's the basement. That's the cellar floor. Then you've got the upper floors of the house, however many floors tall the house is. The upper floors of the house represent your spiritual self. So when you're thinking about your house in the morning after you've had the dream, remember, any rooms in the upper floors of the house represent your spiritual self. If you're an atheist or an agnostic, you don't believe in the spiritual self, we can describe it this way. We can say that the upper floors represent your aspirations, your future self. Who and what do you hope to become? If that is your belief system, then you can replace the spiritual self definition with your aspirations definition. But then there is the attic, and the attic is the uppermost floor in the house. It's the closest to the sky, and what do we do with attics in real life? We store away childhood trinkets and memories there. So in a dream, a lot of times what's happening inside the attic of the house represents memories, aspects of your past that need to be revisited. This is one possibility of what the attic means. Always remember that personal layer almost always overrides the cultural layer, and we're discussing the cultural layer here. In addition to the floors of the house, as I mentioned before, the condition of the house is very important. Is the house well maintained? Is it broken down and falling apart? Is it a tiny house? Is it a huge house? Pay attention to these details. Remember, the house is you. So every aspect about this house is saying something about yourself. If the house is run down and falling apart and in dire need of maintenance, then chances are there is something about you that needs maintenance as well. And also remember, you've got to take into account the outside of the house versus the inside of the house. Is it the outside of the house that is broken down, or is it the inside? Is it both? Is it neither? Is the house pristine and lovely? You need to look at all this stuff and remember that it is all applying to you. This house, well, not this house, but the house in the dream is you. Now also, as I mentioned before, each room in the house has meaning. So we're going to take some time to discuss the different rooms. Now let's start with the living room. In a house, the living room, it's where people spend their day-to-day activities. It's where people tend to gather, assuming that your family does gather. But just as importantly to that, when you have guests over, you invite them into the living room. The living room is where guest interaction takes place. So this is a very important aspect of the living room in your house. This is what you show other people. Once again, pay attention to what floor of the house your living room is on. Is it in the subconscious? Is it upstairs in your spiritual self? Or is it on the ground floor, the aspect of yourself that you let other people see? Now, because the living room is the place where you invite visitors, one of the most important things you want to ask yourself about the living room is the living room inviting? Is it comforting? Does it encourage people to come in and visit? Is it a nice, pleasant place to be? Or is it a place that repels people? And whatever your answer to this question is, you need to follow it up with the question of why? Why is it inviting? Why does it repel people? But the living room is the portion of the house where you invite other people in. You invite people in to yourself. Is it inviting? What does this mean within the dream? Now let's move on to the kitchen. The kitchen is where you store and prepare food. When it comes to looking at the kitchen, you need to ask yourself things like, was the kitchen properly stocked? Was it barren of food? Was it clean? Was it dirty? See, a well-stocked kitchen means that you have the ability to nurture. You have the ability to take care of yourself and others. If it's empty, then maybe you need to be looking at ways to expand your ability to nurture. I once read in a book that sometimes an empty kitchen means that you need to go shopping for new interests. Another thing you need to ask yourself about the kitchen is, do you enjoy the process of being here? Do you enjoy the support that you give to other people, or do you feel more like a slave? Now, once again, we're going to go to the basement. The cellar is an important room in the house. It's almost always underground. I've already kind of touched base on this. But your cellar is where you store away things that you either want to use later or that you want to forget about. A lot of times people are frightened at the idea of approaching the cellar in their house. Approaching the cellar is where you go if you want to heal. This is where you go if you want to fix problems. So it's a good idea to approach the cellar. The more afraid of it you are, chances are the more you should be doing this. I notice that the night vision there is starting to lose its charge, so let's use this light here to finish the project here. Another room that I would like to discuss real quick is the bathroom. Several things happen in the bathroom that have to be taken into account in dreams. They are a place of purification, they are a place of privacy, and they are a place where you go to get rid of things that you don't want in you anymore. So if in your dream you spend any time in the restroom, you do want to pay attention to what's going on there. Are you flushing things out of your system that you no longer need? It's supposed to be a private place. Is it private? Can people see in the windows? Is that door falling off the hinges? What's the situation there? Privacy, purging yourself of things that you don't want, and purification. Some other things related to the bathroom is there's lots of water element going on in the bathroom. Lots of water flowing, cleaning, cleansing, pulling away. Also, a lot of what's going on in the restroom deals with your personal health. Another room that very obviously needs to be taken into account is the bedroom. What does the bed represent? The bed can be intimate. Once again, like the restroom, it's also private. It's intended to be a private place. It's also meant to be a comfortable place. Are you comfortable in your bedroom? Is there someone else in the room with you? How do you feel about this other person? These are all different things to take into account with various rooms in the house. Now, a couple of other things I want to discuss about the house that they aren't rooms, but they're still important things to look for, are windows and stairs. Now, according to Sigmund Freud, windows are female sexual symbols. I don't place much value in that. According to Sigmund Freud, everything was sexual. For me, I view windows more as a portal. And I will be doing another video about a portal at a later time. When it's up, I will have that link at the top of the screen for you. But I view windows as dream portals. and I'm going to be doing an entire video just on that. The other thing I wanted to point out to you about houses, stairs. Stairs, they connect the floors. You can use them to travel from the ground floor up to the top floor or down into the basement. What direction you're traveling on the stairs is an important thing to take into account. Stairs oftentimes represent a journey. You're going on a quest. Well, you're going from the ground floor maybe up to your spiritual self. That is quite an adventure. Maybe you're taking them down to the basement, up from the basement. All of these things have relevance, but stairs oftentimes represent a journey. Now, once again, if you enjoyed the content of this video, if you found it useful, please like and subscribe. There's also a bell icon up there. It will tell you whenever I post new videos to this channel. Also, if you are interested in having your fortune told, you can go to my channel, and there are divinations videos on my channel. You can recognize them all. They all have the same picture. They all have the same title. I'm posting a link to a divinations video right now, and you can watch a random divinations video to have your fortune told. I love you all. Until next time.